Underwood and Flinch by Mike Bennett. Read by the author. Copyright Mike Bennett, 2008 to 2012. For more information, please visit www.underwoodandflinch.com. Episode 2. Brighton, England, 2008. 50 years later. Hello, my name's David, and I'm an alcoholic. David Smith nodded once in general greeting to everyone who sat with him in the small circle. Hello, David, came the collective response, with varying degrees of interest. They were gathered in a small fluorescent-lit room in Hove Community Centre. David ran a hand through his short dark hair and scratched his head. Well, not a lot really going on with me right now. I've been sober for over 2 years, and, well, as you know, it's not always easy, but I'm getting there, one day at a time. He shrugged. Thanks. He looked at the group leader, Mary, to indicate he had finished. Really, David? Said Mary. Nothing at all to share? No, not really. My girlfriend is going back to Germany this week, which is a bit of a bummer, but, you know, that's life. Well, how do you think you'll cope with that? Fine. David took a sip from his machine-vended cup of coffee. Really? Yeah, I mean, it happens, doesn't it? People come, people go. Oh, doesn't happen to me, said a slightly chubby man opposite David. My wife cleared off 3 years ago, and I haven't had a woman since. Please, Steve, said Mary. You'll get your turn to speak. She turned back to David. Sorry, David. No, really. David gestured for Steve to speak. I've got nothing to say, honest. Are you sure? Said Mary. You know, if you think this situation with your girlfriend could be a problem. No, I don't, really. I don't mean to sound shallow or anything, but it's not a big deal for me. I'll be fine. Be another one along in a minute, eh, Dave? Said Steve. Like a number 7 bus? David smiled and shook his head. No, mate. I don't know how you do it. I really don't. I mean, it's not like you're much to look at now, is it? Oh, hark at Brad Pitt, said a woman to David's left. There were a few chuckles around the circle before Mary brought things to order again. Thank you, Carol. Can we just let David speak, please? David shrugged. I've spoken, Mary. That's it. I'm fine. No worries. Ask him if you don't believe me. He pointed to Steve. He's my sponsor. Oh, yeah, said Steve. He's fine, all right. Have you seen that German bird of his? Bloody hell. Anyone would be fine who had that to come home to. Yeah, and when she goes, seriously, there'll be another one along before you can say trousers. There must be something in the chalk dust. They throw themselves at him, they do. Mary raised an eyebrow at David. Do they? David smiled and shook his head. No, I do meet the odd girl there, sure, but it's never anything serious. Yeah, and ain't that just the way you like it, eh? Said Steve. David turned to the man next to him. Peter, I think it's your turn to speak. Peter sat back and folded his arms. No, I'm enjoying hearing about this school of yours. What do you teach that has such an aphrodisiac effect? English, said Steve. He gets all these young girls over here wanting to learn English, and he takes them home for some extracurricular lessons, don't you, Smithy? Oh, that is so not true, said David. You're making me out to be some Casanova type, which is just bollocks. I'm a 35-year-old man living in a rented one-bedroom flat. I ride a bicycle and I teach English, part-time. I'm not exactly what you consider a catch, am I? Oh, not me, no. I think you're a minger. But them foreign birds, they must go for bike-riding mingers, 'cause you always seem to have one on the go, don't you? Bollocks do I.
Yeah, are there any other jobs going there then?
Asked Peter.
I've got a bike.
Yeah, said Steve. And I speak English. And you're a minger and all, said Carol. If you borrow Peter's bike, you'd be well in. Thank you, Carol, said Steve with a sarcastic smile. Yeah, why not? said David. I'm sure they'd be all over you like bees round a honey pot, Steve. Bloody right, mate, said Steve. I am a honey pot. Chamber pot, more like, said Carol. This got a laugh from everyone but Steve. All right, settle down, said Mary. Well, if you've really nothing to say, David, let's move on to Peter. Peter sighed and sat on his hands.
Hello, everyone. My name's Peter, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Peter, everyone replied. Steve made a clandestine wanker hand gesture at David. David poked his tongue twice into his cheek in response. Then they both settled back to listen to Peter, whose anecdotal updates on his wife's snoring were always highly entertaining. An hour later, as they were stacking away their chairs, Steve spoke again to David. So, seriously, mate, you all right about this bird leaving, are you? Yeah, like I said, it's not a big deal. But I thought you really liked her. I do. So you must be feeling a bit pissed off then, surely? David pushed the stack of plastic chairs against the wall and shrugged. What can I do? That's life, mate. Well, you could ask her to stay. She can't stay. She's got a family and a job and all the rest of it. So, have you asked her? What? If she'd stay. Oh, we've talked about it. She says I can go over there and, teach English. But, he made a face. I don't really fancy it. Don't fancy what? Germany. Well, that's all right. You ain't going to be shagging Germany, are you? I mean, it's her what you fancy, innit? David smiled. Are you trying to get rid of me, Steve? No, I just don't want to see you chucking a good thing away. She's a lovely girl, that one. You'll kick yourself if you let her go. David shook his head. You don't get it, mate. I don't mind not being in a committed relationship, Since Sarah died, I don't know. I like to keep it simple. You can't go on keeping it simple forever, Dave. One day, whatever magic dust it is you sprinkle over them girl students' eyes is going to stop working. Oh yeah, you'll wind up old and alone, smelling a piss and wearing a kettle for an army helmet as you relive that war you was in. Oh yeah, I can see you now, shouting out surrender at the milkman in Czechoslovakian. Serbo-Croat, David corrected. Eh? What's that? The Czechoslovakian for surrender? No, it's the language I'll be shouting surrender in. I was in Bosnia. Yeah, well, it all sounds the same when you got a kettle on your head, doesn't it? The point is, your life's slipping away from you, my son. You ain't getting any younger. They walked out into the corridor. Take me, Steve continued. I used to be like you. I could have had any woman in town. But I had Brenda, didn't I? I was faithful to that woman. And then, his lips tightened, and then she went off and bloody left me, didn't she? Well, yeah, but not to be funny or anything, Steve, but that was 'cause you were always pissed. Well, it's beside the point. Is it? I thought that was the point. No, I mean it's not the point I'm trying to make to you, is it? I don't know. What is your point then? My point is, I had it, but I let it slip away. I fucked it up. And now, you've got it too. And you're going to let it slip away and all. And you ain't even going to have the consolation, not that it is much of a consolation, of being able to say it was 'cause you was pissed all the time. Oh no, you're fucking it up and you're stone cold sober. David pushed open the front door, grateful of the damp evening air after 2 hours of central heating. Steve took out his cigarettes and offered David the packet. David shook his head. No thanks. What? You're not giving up the fags and all, are you? You'll go mental. No, I just want to breathe for a bit, that's all. Fair enough. So, anyway, you see what I'm saying about this bird? David nodded. Steve exhaled smoke. So do me a favour, will you? Just think about it, okay? About what? Going to Germany? About doing whatever it takes, mate. If she's the one for you, and I know Sarah was, but, sometimes fate deals you more than one chance, you should do whatever it takes to keep her. David looked at his friend and nodded. All right, Steve, I'll think about it. Good lad. So, what you doing now? Going home, making dinner. What you having? Pizza? No, Lisa's coming over. I'm making a chicken korma.
Oh, very exotic. You know, they say a bloke that cooks knows the quickest way to a bird's heart.
David frowned. Who do?
Well, no one actually. I made it up. But it sounds right, doesn't it? If you can cook, you're halfway there. They'll understand that you won't be expecting him to do all the cooking. It's metrosexual, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh, yeah. I'm totally metrosexual, me. I can do beef and spuds, spag bowl, sausage and mash, you name it.
He pointed at David with his cigarette.
And I always put the toilet seat down after I have a piss, which to some women is a more important thing about a bloke than him having a big dick.
Is that so?
Oh, yeah.
Where did you read that?
I didn't read it. A bird told me herself.
Was this after you slept with her?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going back years, mind you, but it's as true today as it was then.
David smiled. Of course it is. He looked at his watch. Listen, I have to go. I'll see you soon, yeah? He trotted down the front steps to the street.
Yeah, next week, if not before. And you stay dry, yeah?
David turned and waved. You too.
And don't forget,
Steve called after him,
it's her you're shagging, not Germany.
Peter came out and stood beside Steve.
All right, Steve.
All right, Pete.
What's wrong with shagging Germany?
Eh? Peter shrugged.
I'd shag Germany.
Yeah, you'd shag anything, Pete.
No, I wouldn't,
said Peter, mildly affronted.
I wouldn't shag France, would you?
Course not. It's a country, innit?
Ah, so I'm not the only one then.
Peter accepted one of Steve's cigarettes.
Oh, I think you probably are, Pete,
said Steve, giving Peter a light.
I think you probably are.
An hour later, David was in his kitchen reading about how to make chicken korma when the phone rang. He wandered through into the lounge and picked up the receiver. Hello?
Hi, it's me.
Lisa, where are you?
I'm in a cafe with Claudia and Maria. I just wanted to check. You're cooking tonight, right?
That's right, chicken korma.
Have you started it?
Well, I've opened the jar of chicken tonight. Why?
Claudia and Maria have invited us to a party tonight at Marco and Giuseppe's apartment. People are meeting in the cricketers at 10. Do you want to go?
David sat down on the sofa. Oh, I don't know, Lise. It's just going to be a load of students getting pissed up, isn't it? I mean, you go by all means, but I think I'll give it a miss. Students never really understand when you say you don't want a pint. They take it like a rejection.
Well, you can just tell them you don't drink.
Yeah, and then they start asking you why you don't drink. No, you go. It'll be a laugh. You should make the most of your last few days in Brighton.
I intend to, Mr. Teacher. What time is dinner? I don't want to be late.
David smiled. Whenever suits you.
Okay, I can be there in about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Should I get anything on the way?
Well, get yourself some wine if you like, but I don't need anything.
Okay, I see you soon.
She made a kiss sound to the receiver.
Bye.
He returned the kiss. Bye. She hung up. He looked at himself in the large mirror that hung over the fireplace. He was blushing. He shook his head. You sap. As promised, she arrived at his flat 30 minutes later. She held up a bottle of Aqua Libra. Do you like this? I asked the supermarket assistant for a non-alcoholic drink to have with dinner, and he suggested this one. David kissed her and took the bottle. Sure, thanks. She came in after him and closed the front door. The food smells lovely. What are you making? He entered the lounge and turned down the stereo. It's a chicken curry thing. How long will it be? Oh, we can have it any time. Why? Are you hungry? No, I'm horny. She came up to him, put her arms around his neck, and kissed him. David tasted the wine on her breath. He kissed her back. Then he said, Wait a second. Just let me go and turn the cooker off. He went out. When he came back, she had gone through into the bedroom. He went in. She was sitting on the bed in her underwear. She held out her hand. Come on, please, teacher. It's time for my private lesson. It was shortly after 9 when they finally ate. The meal was a success. Afterwards, they sat talking at the table, David in his boxer shorts and Lisa wearing one of his T-shirts. Then Lisa got up to clear the plates. David held up a hand. "Leave them. I'll wash them up later." "But you cooked." "That doesn't matter." She sat down again, smiling. "Well, if you insist." "I do." He picked up his cigarettes. Her smile faded. "Oh, David, do you have to smoke now?" David put the packet down. "No, I can leave it if it bothers you." "I wish you'd give it up altogether." "I can't give it up. It's my hobby, Lise. Everyone needs a hobby. Drinking used to be my hobby, and I had to give that up. So this is all I've got left." "Well, don't you have any real hobbies?" He shrugged. "Well, does PlayStation count?" "No, I mean real hobbies." "No, not anymore." "You know, I thought you'd be more of a book person." "I like books." "But you have hardly any. In fact, you don't have much of anything." He topped up her glass. "Well, I don't like clutter. It's good feng shui." "What's that?" "It's Chinese for throwing out your crap." "You see, this feng shui thing? I didn't know this about you, and yet we've been seeing each other for months now. You're really quite a private person, aren't you?" He raised an eyebrow. "Am I?" "Yes. I sometimes think I hardly know anything about you." "Well, there isn't much to know." "I don't believe that. I think you have, I don't know how you say it in English, hidden deepness?" David smiled. "Hidden depths." "Yes, you have the hidden depths. But I think some things in there are not good. You know, at night you have bad dreams. You moan and wrestle with yourself." He laughed. "Sounds like I'm dreaming of you." "No, I have to soothe you sometimes to help you relax." "Really? Well, I didn't know that." "You don't remember your dreams?" "No," he lied. "Not usually." "You twitch and fidget. You cry out sometimes also." "Do I?" He was beginning to feel embarrassed. "Sorry." "It's not something to be sorry about, David, but I think that it is something you need to talk about. These things, whatever they are, that disturb you." He smiled. "I'm probably just dreaming of chasing rabbits or something." "I don't think so." She sipped her drink, then asked, "What is Underwood?" David's smile faded. "Underwood?" "Yes, you say it sometimes when you are dreaming. Is it a place?" He shrugged. "I've no idea." "In your dreams you sound frightened of it, like it's a bad thing." "Do I?" "Yes. You know, if ever we got serious, we may have to sleep in separate rooms. I'd never get any sleep otherwise." He topped up his own glass. "But we aren't going to get serious, are we, Lisa? You're going to go back to Germany at the weekend?" She shrugged. "Maybe I could come back again. I've been thinking about it. I could get a job here. My English is good enough." "Your English is excellent." "So maybe I could stay with you here, at least until I found a place of my own." "Stay here? In this flat, you mean?" "Yes." "But you have a career in Germany. What would you do here for work?" "David, I'm only talking about the possibility." "And then there's your friends and your family. What about them?" "They're only a plane ride away." "Well, yeah, but, you know, you'd miss them, wouldn't you?" "Perhaps not as much as I would miss you." "Oh, me." He waved a hand, avoiding her eyes. "I'm sure you'll forget me soon enough." "As you will forget me." There was a note of sadness in her voice. David looked up, meeting her eyes. "No." She nodded. "I think perhaps yes." "No, I won't forget you, Lisa." "So you would like me to stay?" David shifted on his seat. Well, yes, of course, but you can't, can you?" "Why? It wouldn't be so difficult." David smiled, but his smile had difficulty reaching his eyes. Well, that'd be great if you did. I mean, if you didn't mind giving up your career and everything else.
I wouldn't mind. Not if we were together.
David reached for his cigarettes. So you mean in this flat together, or just going out together?
Would it be a problem if I were in this flat with you?
He lit a cigarette, drawing out the action to steal a few seconds to think. Oh, I'm not sure. This is a pretty small place, Lise.
She nodded. Of course. That's okay.
I mean, I'd like to have you move in, but as you can see, he waved a hand around the room. It's tiny. And, my dreaming, my fidgeting and stuff.
She got up. It's all right, David. I understand. Don't worry. I go back to Germany.
She walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Lisa, I'm getting dressed, she called. He looked at their plates, her unfinished drink, the closed bedroom door. You're not angry, are you?
No,
she laughed, though he heard no amusement in it.
I'm just getting dressed, that's all.
He sighed and looked at the ceiling. He took another drag on his cigarette, then dropped it into the remains of his drink. He got up and started stacking plates.
Actually,
she called,
I'm thinking I might go to the party tonight after all.
Okay. She walked out of the bedroom, fully dressed. There was a businesslike air about her.
You were right earlier. I should make the most of my last days here.
He put down the plates and nodded.
Sure. And so, I'd better go now.
Lisa. She turned and walked out to the hall.
I'll see you, I don't know, before I go, I suppose.
He went after her.
Lisa, I didn't mean to say we couldn't share somewhere together. It's just... Really, David, it's okay.
She opened his front door and started down the stairs.
I know you like to keep your life free of the clutter.
Oh, come on, Lisa, you know that's not what I meant. He followed her out onto the landing. Lisa! He watched as she turned the corner on the lower landing before descending the next flight of stairs. Shit! He looked down at his boxer shorts and bare feet, swore again, then ran after her. He lived on the 3rd floor, and as he reached the last flight of stairs, he was rewarded by the sight of the front door closing. Bollocks! He hurried down and pulled open the door. He stepped outside into the cold April night to see she was already halfway down the street. He stood for a moment, watching her go, hoping she might turn back, but she didn't. The sound of sudden laughter made him look round to where 2 teenage girls were approaching from behind.
Nice pants.
Thanks, said David flatly.
Not really,
said the other girl, and they both laughed. David nodded. Thanks again. He turned and went back into the house. As he closed the door, he saw the mail in the basket that hung beneath the letterbox. He hadn't checked it earlier, so he reached inside and pulled out the assorted letters and junk circulars, quickly riffling through for anything addressed to him. There was a bill and a plain white envelope with his name and address typed on it. Back in his flat, he sat down on the sofa and opened the white envelope. It contained a single sheet of paper. He opened it out, and the first thing he noticed was the name at the top of the headed paper. Daventry and West, Solicitors. Solicitors? What had he done to merit a letter from solicitors? Anxious, he read on. It was short, only 3 paragraphs in length, but when he had finished, the letter trembled in his hands. "Oh, my God," he whispered, his eyes filling with tears. "How did they find me? How did they fucking find me?" Thank you for listening to Underwood and Flinch. More episodes will be added to this YouTube channel soon. To download the entire audiobook for free right now, go to www.underwoodandflinch.com or search for it on iTunes. Thank you.